Hello everyone, and welcome to Learn TV for a new broadcast dedicated to the education industry. My name is Filip, and this is my colleague Angelo.
Today with us in the studio is Filip Ordevski, Head Advisor of Learning and Development at LEORON. He will share with us the latest learning and development trends of 2022 with focus on Saudi Arabia's current state of learning and development.
Filip has dedicated the last 7 years at LEORON, aligning clients' needs with high-quality training programs in order to help them achieve their business goals. And Filip, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much, Filip. Indeed, it is a pleasure to me as well to be part of Learn TV and to do this segment.
Wonderful. Filip, can you tell us more about your work at LEORON?
Yeah, sure. I'm currently serving as a head advisor under the Learning and Development Solutions Department of LEORON, being actively involved in developing learning and development strategies and implementing learning and development programs for some of the most prominent businesses and governments, primarily in Saudi Arabia, as I spent a lot of time during my tenure at LEORON in Saudi Arabia and working as part of our office in Riyadh. In terms of my role, I would say that there are two main components. So the first component is the commercial side of my role, which includes a variety of responsibilities for managing the whole tender management cycle in LEORON, being responsible for managing the flow of opportunities coming primarily from the governmental sector of Saudi Arabia. I'm actively involved in monitoring and submission of our solutions in the form of proposals to our clients. And of course, the advisory role where I have more hands-on approach when it comes to analysis, design, development, implementation of our programs, evaluation, which is also a critical component where we do a lot of ROI and doing the necessary in order to deliver the solutions with the desired effects and with the desired results to our clients.
Thank you, Filip. Your focus is currently shifted towards Saudi Arabia. Can you tell us more about the latest L&D developments in KSA?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as I've mentioned, I spent a lot of time in Saudi Arabia. I have lots of insights. Unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to travel that often as I did back in 2018 and 19. However, of course, I'm keeping touch with the learning and development community in Saudi Arabia and just trying to keep up to date with what's going on there. Of course, there are many key themes happening in Saudi Arabia that obviously have been kind of accelerated by COVID. There are a lot of challenges, and these trends are not only applicable to Saudi Arabia but to the whole global learning and development state. So, but what specifically for Saudi Arabia is that most of the trends are coming as a result of the Vision 2030. There are several industries that are being prioritized, or I would say that are being in the focus of the government of Saudi Arabia. A few that are worth to be mentioned are first the hospitality tourism sector, which is being one of the main focus during the pandemic, but that again, it's not a result of the COVID pandemic, it is a result of the whole Vision 2030. So we have noticed that there is a lot of requirements coming from the hospitality and tourism sector. We try to kind of align with these requirements and try to basically adapt our portfolio in order to be able to fill that gap in the hospitality and tourism sector. We have all heard about the new developments in the eastern region where there are lots of mega and giga projects supported by the government. There is also a lot of developments in Riyadh, and we've been actively present there with providing our solution and helping the relevant authorities in the Riyadh province, and the Riyadh, of course, as the capital city. The second industry, which I believe is worth to be mentioned, is the information technology. We have noticed that the government and the whole country is doing and preparing for the digitalization, which is, of course, we cannot even be mentioned as a trend. It is the reality at the moment. So we see that there is a lot of initiatives for filling in the gap of many new trends coming from the technology and digital transformation, from AI to data management to cybersecurity being a critical aspect of the whole transformation. So indeed, we are trying to keep up with these trends and try to be able, try to basically adjust our offering in order to be able to answer to these requirements and demands.
So Filip, what are currently some of the main L&D trends in Saudi Arabia?
Well, as I mentioned, Philip, these are the trends that are, I've tried to put them in a context of industries. So yeah, the key themes are, as I mentioned, the hospitality, tourism, information technology, all these, subcomponents of the IT domain. Healthcare is being also one of the key industries that it's still in the focus of the government. And in terms of trends, I would say that a main theme, which, as I mentioned before, was kind of accelerated by COVID, it's the utilization of technology-enabled solutions. That means that most of the companies that didn't have any awareness about technology-enabled learning solutions have, during the pandemic, decided to accelerate the adaptation of these solutions. And the modest percentage of companies that didn't have, that had the IT infrastructure in place, supported by learning management systems, and focusing on learning methods which are technology-enabled, that percentage increased throughout the pandemic. It was accelerated. So yeah, that's basically the key theme. Saudi Arabia is unique in terms of how they are approaching the human capital development. Again, this was driven by the whole country strategy, accelerated with COVID. So we expect that there will be a growth, and of course there will be lots of new developments in the coming years.
Thank you, Philip. Have you noticed any differences in the L&D trends pre and post-COVID?
Well, definitely, yeah. This goes in basically in the same context and explanation. We all know that the preferred, learning and delivery method pre-COVID was classroom, face-to-face training. Personally, I'm deeply convinced that method is still relevant due to several components that are related to the networking part, the benchmarking part. I think that those two components are still important and critical. However, during the pandemic, it came as a necessity for the companies to adopt different types of teaching methods. And luckily, in 2020, although there was a lot of uncertainty during Q1, I'm very glad that the country and we basically as part of the whole ecosystem and the value chain, we have adapted quickly. And in Q2, we did this transformation swiftly. We managed to align, we managed to adapt with the new trends. We adopted, the relevant technologies. Many technology vendors have been introduced in the system. So, that shift happened quickly. And in my view, there was no significant disruption, during the pandemic. Now, post-COVID, I think that, what happened during COVID will still remain to be standard based on, the success stories of that particular positive implementation of this solution during COVID. So I think that, these will remain to be, these methods of learning will remain to be relevant for the coming years. So, yeah.
Philip, are there also any changes in how much companies are investing in their employees?
Well, if you're referring to the past 3 years and seeing things retrospectively, indeed there was a change, especially during 2020. As I mentioned before, Q1 and Q2, these particular 2 quarters have been quite volatile. And during these couple of quarters, the whole planning of budget was kind of disrupted. So I think that there was a decrease, and we definitely noticed that. We have projected back then that there will be quite a significant disruption of the whole spending of the industry, as obviously it was not really a priority. That was the opinion back in Q1. However, as we progress throughout the year, Q2 and Q3, we have noticed that things are getting back to normal. So I think that we kind of exceeded the expectation of how much the whole sector and how much was the spending in the whole sector. So yeah, I would categorize 2020 as I would say, taking into consideration the circumstances and taking into consideration all the constraints, there was still, a significant spending in the learning sector. In terms of 2021, I was happy to see that the companies have adjusted, or they have actually planned ahead. In Q3 and Q4, they spent tremendous efforts to align with the adaptation of the new learning methods. So they, in my view, they build the training plan to fit, to fit the estimated circumstances and all the constraints with COVID. So, for example, if 2019 was the year where most of the companies have planned to spend a significant portion of their budget for the actual training delivery, the logistic side of the delivery, for traveling expenses and all these aspects that are non-essential to the actual training process. 2021, luckily, these components have been repurposed in order to, and readjusted in order to be used for the actual training, the actual value of the training. So I think that there was an increase in terms of the volume of people that have been trained, and there was also, we have noticed that there is also support for the post-training activities. By post-training activities, I mean there have been a lot of support for actual membership, examination of the staff, where previously we've noticed that the companies are mainly focusing on supporting their employees with the preparatory programs. But the whole cycle now has been covered because the budget basically allowed this to happen. So 2021 was quite normal. As I mentioned before, I don't think that although it was a major constraint and although it impacted negatively the whole sector, the amount of spending was actually driven by the whole, by the strategy in place, by Vision 2030, and this projected amount of spending is expected to continue regardless of having constraints, regardless of having different external factors happening in Saudi Arabia. I think that this trend of spending and even increase in the spending of the learning sector will continue in 2022.
Philip, the percentage of remote and hybrid employees is much larger than it was pre-pandemic. So one of the main trends and challenges at the same time is designing and delivering training for a hybrid workforce. How is LEORON keeping up with these trends?
Yes, this is definitely a challenge, and we as a company have invested in building our internal capabilities in order to be able to adjust to these new circumstances. I just recently read some report about the increase of employees working and adopting the hybrid model. I believe that this number now it's around 48%, and back in 2019 this percent was around 30%. So we definitely have to adjust. By we I mean the learning and development professionals, the HR professionals that are responsible for managing this workforce and providing the relevant learning. And mainly the leaders, and not only the leaders within the learning and development domain and the HR domain, but also leaders in different functions. Why I'm mentioning the leaders? Because I think that the leaders are critical. It's critically important for them to adapt. They will be managing a lot of people working remotely. Interaction, the social connections are going to be disrupted by the hybrid model. So the leaders need to adapt quickly in order to be able to continue to drive the strategies and the success of their respective organizations. We as learning development professionals, we need to adjust our leadership development offering. Back in 2019, we did a lot of typical leadership development journeys, completely or to some extent extracting the remote element of the learning and development journeys. However, in 2022, it's a must for us to incorporate this component and to basically incorporate a content to teach the leaders how to work and lead people remotely. Additional component that is coming in context of my first couple of questions, which is the utilization of technology. We as learning and development professionals, we need to look into the latest trends when it comes to learning experience platforms. We really need to create some sort of a hub where all of the learners will basically have the chance to get consistent information, and in order to avoid a different type of information, different type of content given to people working in their office and working at home, we need to ensure that there is a central place, and we really need to focus on boosting our capabilities when it comes to incorporation of the learning experience platforms within the technologies in place with our clients.
Philip, what are some of the upcoming trends that L&D professionals should be on the lookout, both in 2022 and beyond that?
Well, a few I already mentioned, the learning experience platforms, of course, the utilization of any type of technology-enabled learning methods. This is already a reality. A couple of these that I've already explained in details in the previous questions. A few that are worth to be mentioned, it's the assessment strategies. Learning and development professionals would really need to look into what's latest in terms of assessments. There are plenty of new solutions, plenty of new tools on the market, and they really need to basically align with what's latest in terms of the assessment. So designing assessment strategies that are relevant to 22. Like, for example, if previously we did the assessment to an accountant using a basic questionnaire or doing a gap analysis in the whole accounting domain, now there are lots of assessments that are basically providing the accountants, for example, to go to a specific portion of an accounting software, provide a simulation to that particular portion of an accounting software, and identifying a gap, if there is a gap in the skills of that particular accountant. The problem with the assessment strategies is how to scale, how to provide a consistent assessment to teams, and in the context of the whole organization, it's a quite complex issue. But definitely, there have to be a lot of energy, time, and resources spent in this particular area, as this is crucial for the upscaling and for the reskilling of the professionals that are being involved in the workplace. So yeah, that's what I think it's worth to be mentioned. These three components: tackling the hybrid workforce challenges, tackling the assessment part, learning in the flow of work. It's also critical. There has to be the learning and development professionals really need to enable the option of the learners to learn at their work while they're working, at any time, at any place, regardless of location. So yeah, learning in the flow of work, it's also a critical aspect that needs to be addressed during this year.
Being part of LEORON Institute for such a long time, working closely with L&D professionals, what would be your message towards them for the future?
Well, I guess the message that I'm trying to convey is for them to take more proactive approach instead of reactive, and to actively participate in the strategic planning process, to act as change agents and to adopt technology quickly. Change management, leading change, is the critical competence of the learning and development professionals, and tech savviness is one of the key components that is going to be critical in the years to come. So yeah, I will end on that. Change management and tech savviness for the learning and development, it's critical for 2022 and the years to come.
Philip, thank you so much for the valuable insights.
Dear viewers, thank you for joining us today as well. Our videos are recorded and uploaded on our YouTube and Vimeo channels, so you can always go back to watch them again. If there's any topic that you will want to hear our experts discuss on, do let us know and we will review it. Until next time, stay tuned.